Hey friends, oh, I'm so excited to be outside. It is February in Michigan and I am sitting outside. It's crazy. Anyways, we have been talking about, the last few videos has been about mold and how to clean mold, what the symptoms of mold are, and all of those things. So the most recent one was how to clean mold. But what do you do if you can't find the mold? That's a problem, because just because you can't see the mold doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So mold can actually hide behind walls. It can hide in places that you can't see, you can't get to. So what do you do if you can't see the mold? It still affects your health, it still affects you, it still impacts the way you feel and all of that. But so maybe you're feeling the symptoms of mold issues, potential mold symptoms, and so you're wondering if you have mold. Some really good questions to ask yourself are: has the building that you're in ever been flooded? Has there ever been a roof leak? If you need to, you can check ceiling tiles. Ceiling tiles, if they have the brown spots, that's water damage. That is ultimately mold. Check the attic if you're able to access the attic. Has there ever been a leaky pipe? If there's a leaking pipe behind that wall, more than likely it's affected. There's probably mold in that wall too, unless they tore out all the drywall and everything that was around there. Humidity levels have been cautiously maintained below 50%. Remember, a couple videos back, I showed you exactly what I use to monitor humidity levels. It's so important if you live in a humid climate. And let's see, does the house have a mildew smell after being closed up for a few days? That's a big one. It's so common to have a mildew smell that oftentimes we think that doesn't mean mold. It's the same thing. It really does equal mold, and I think we need to not minimize that and realize that if we can smell that mildewy smell, if we go on vacation and come back and smell mildew, that musty smell, that's a sign we've got a problem, and it is going to impact our health. So another question is, when you go on vacation, when you leave the house, if you leave the house for 4 days, 4 days seems to be the magic number. If you leave the house, do you feel better? This is a hard one to manage because oftentimes our jobs are stressful or there's stress, and then we go on vacation, it's just fun and laid back. But try to recognize, when I leave the house and I go on vacation, am I feeling better after that 4 days? Do I have more energy? Do I feel just lighter? Do I just happier? Have some of those mold symptoms gone away? Sinus pressures, lung issues, stuff like that. Do you feel better? Some other hints that you could have a mold issue. If you have mold in your holding tank for your toilet, lift that up, check it out. There's probably a bigger issue, because mold doesn't just find its way into that holding tank. There's a bigger issue. There's more spores somewhere else throughout the house. Another hiding place to look for mold is under the rim of the toilet, the actual toilet bowl. Just under that rim, mold likes to grow there. The water damage at the base of our sink cabinets, I always grew up with thinking that, well, that's no big deal. It was just a leaky sink, a leaky pipe at some point. No, mold grows in that. So that is actually something that you want to get rid of. So that's a sign that there's been a leaky pipe. It's a sign that maybe you need to fix the pipe. Maybe it's already been fixed. Either way, you want to clean. You want to get rid of that water damage at the cabinet base. And let's see. Other warning signs to, if you're trying to figure out if you have mold or you're curious about it, warning signs, some other warning signs are your paint has bubbled, you have warped boards, there's watermarks or water stains, the floor maybe has warped, the boards underneath have warped, your floor is no longer even. Something's separating in an abnormal way. So say you have like hardwood floors and the boards are kind of separating, or maybe drywall and the drywall is separating in funny ways. So where things are supposed to line up smoothly and nicely, if it's kind of separating, there's a sign that you've got some water damage, some mold issues. Cracking, peeling, bulging baseboards. So down at the bottom, if those boards are bulging, especially in the bathroom. And then again, we mentioned the under the cabinets. Those are all signs of mold. And so all things that you want to be high alert of, there might be an issue here. Most of those, if you see those on drywall, you might want to check on what's the other side of the drywall. Because remember, we'd previously talked about the back side of drywall is perfect feeding ground for mold. It loves that paper that's on the back side of the drywall. So if you get a little bit of moisture in there, and then you've got the airflow going up the wall, then you've got the air flowing, so it's gonna lead those mold spores to go all the way up the wall to the top. So you might have had maybe a tub overflow on the floor and it leaked behind the wall. You get the warped boards, and just pulling those warped boards out or a little bit of drywall isn't enough, because that flows all the way up to the top of the drywall. So kind of stating the obvious, but some common locations for finding mold issues are bathrooms, kitchens, around the windows, attics, and basements. So those are all, if you're looking at purchasing a house and you're wondering if it's got mold issues, mold damage, those are really good areas to check out and make sure that you're not buying a house with mold. Especially if you don't smell it or you're not super sensitive to mold. You don't want to buy a house with mold, because it's not good for anyone, whether you're sensitive or you're not sensitive. Ultimately, you've seen the list of symptoms. It plugs up our detoxification pathways, so we can't detoxify. So we gain weight, we have sinus issues, we have headaches, we have all these issues keep piling on, breathing issues. However it affects you. For me, it went into my nervous system, my muscular system, my stomach. So all these things that we think are just common symptoms of old age is more than likely because our house is moldy, our living space. So we got to protect our living space. It's just totally for our quality of life. It's for our benefit and our family. And so yeah, so a couple things that's really interesting, and I wish I would have known sooner, is, so you're questioning if you have a mold issue and you want to get your house tested. What do you do? Well, there's certain things that you need to, like, different types of mold require different tests. So hear me out. So a swab only works if it physically touches mold. Air samples only detect mold in the open airways. Air samples will not pick up mold in the wall unless the wall is opened up. So if it's maybe in a flooded bathroom, there's mold maybe behind that drywall that you can't see. If that drywall is left open, you do an air sample, you're not going to pick up mold. It can't find it behind that wall. So air sampling should be done at the source of the potential issue, even if it means drilling a hole in the wall and placing the sampler directly at the hole. So you can't do an air sample in that case, but you could open up the drywall there and put the air sampler right there so it's collecting the air that's behind the wall. Fogging, oh my goodness, so many people think I can just fog to clear out the mold. It's not a big deal. Fogging doesn't get behind the walls. So if there is a flood, then, well, I want to show you something. Let's see if I can do this. So I got a table right here in my cup. So when I pour water on here, look. The water spreads on the table until it is able to go down. It didn't just stay on the surface of the table, it wanted to run down. So if there's a flood that happens, then it's going to go behind the other walls. It's not just going to stay in that area, that one little bit area, but it's going to seek to be able to go downwards. It's going to try to follow gravity. So you got to remember that it's, so I know of a case where there is a house being built and the top floor, the bathroom on the top floor was flooded when no one was home, and it flooded all the way down into the basement. It didn't just stay in that top floor bathroom, but it flooded all the way down to the basement. So that water would have gone all the way down those walls, all of those affected walls, and the side walls, the ceiling for the next level, all of that would have been affected. So air sampling is not going to discover that type of situation. But the mold's still there, it still would affect your health. So, and fogging doesn't help that situation also. So, and then checking for moisture in the wall. That's a common way to check for mold also. That will not work if the mold is dry. Infrared cameras will not work if the mold has dried. Mold is still effective when it's dried because remember, it's like a volcano and it lets off those mycotoxins. So just because it's dry doesn't mean it's dead. It still is letting out mycotoxins. And then if you get a good mold inspector, so many of them don't actually know how to find mold, but if you get a really good one, they're going to be in an average size house for a minimum of 4 to 8 hours inspecting every nook and cranny. They're going to be looking for mold. They're going to be just all over the place looking for mold. So just know that about a good mold inspector. If he's in and out of there, maybe setting up an old air sampler and then gone, he's not a good mold inspector. He doesn't know what he's looking for. So hire someone else. So mold in our homes. It's tough. And I think because it's our homes and it's a costly issue, I think because of that we tend to minimize it. We don't realize the seriousness of it. However, it's our living space. Our living space is supposed to be a safe space. It's supposed to be our healthy spot. It's supposed to be the spot that we can let down our guard and just be us. We're supposed to be able to relax. And it's been proven to only take a quarter-sized spot of mold for a sensitive person to get sick. So keep in mind that there's DNA that detects mold in a person's body. And there is 24% of the population have this DNA that doesn't recognize mold as a toxin. So their bodies automatically don't recognize mold as a toxin. And so that amount of mold is all it takes, 24% of the population to get sick. That's a lot of people. 1 out of 4 almost can get sick by that much mold. And so if you ever wonder why maybe one person in the household is really sick and the others aren't, it's really because of the DNA, more than likely. I mean, it could be they've had different exposures through the years, but their DNA could be affecting things. For me, my DNA, why I'm so passionate about mold, I have 2 sets of that DNA, and so I am in the 2 percentile of not recognizing mold as a toxin at all. So it instantly takes my body down. So people have different types of DNA that affect how the body detoxifies, how the body handles mold. So important to recognize that mold is not to be messed with. Mold changes our lives. Last week I read to you Leviticus 14. It's so clear in the Word of God that we've got to get rid of it. We need to consider it a curse and get rid of it. Eliminate it. Don't play with mold. And including that musty smell. If you have that musty smell, it's time to just either clean out your home, do something drastic, start making it in your plans to make your home a safe place. So if you have not already grabbed my free guide in my bio about how to properly clean mold, small amounts of mold, then be sure to go grab that. And please be sure to like and share this. That more people need to know about mold and how to properly deal with it. And so today was all about finding mold. There's previous videos about how to clean mold and the symptoms of mold. So check out those other videos, share them. If you know someone who's been sick and they can't figure out why, this is a root cause of why people are sick. This information needs to get out there, and more people need to understand the seriousness of mold. And it's not something just to wipe up and hope it's good. It's something to be taken seriously. So share, like, pass it along, and be sure to subscribe for more videos. Love you guys. Mwah. Have a beautiful day.